Birregurra, a place to find a sense of calm, to find some peace, quiet, and one of Australia's best restaurants. This is Bray, a southwest Victorian regional fine diner of almost unmatched ambition and execution.
It's a celebration restaurant, there's no doubt about it. On a good day here, people are just sort of caught up in it. They're in the moment.
The restaurant is the fully realised vision of chef-owner Dan Hunter. He opened Bray in late 2013 to instant acclaim. In the years since, it has been recognised among the top 50 restaurants in the world. It is, in industry terms, a destination restaurant. Not just for Australian diners, but for people all over the world.
You do get people just getting flights and flying into Melbourne and hiring a car and coming to Birri, coming to Bray and spending the night and maybe going to one restaurant in Melbourne and spending the night and then flying home.
In a town as small as Birregurra, that sort of attention can fundamentally change the ecology of a place. Less than half an hour up the road, pig farmer Xavier Mead hasn't just noticed the change, he's lived it.
I think growing up in this area, like the only time I used to go to Birregurra was to play football against the local footy club. Play footy, leave Birri, that was about it. It's a small, sleepy town. You only got to mention the name Bray now and everyone knows about it.
Xavier and his wife Lauren run 350 Berkshire Cross Duroc pigs at their nearby farm in the Colac Otway Shire. They used to sell their Barongarook pork cuts direct to local customers. But working 5 days, then spending their weekends selling at farmers markets wasn't all that conducive to raising a young family. Then they got a call from Bray.
It was daunting when I got the phone call from him, and I sort of thought to myself, oh, Bray, keen to come and have a look at what we do and you know, see the product we produce. And I sort of thought to myself straight away, it'd be great if we can get it on the menu there at Bray. Not only a feel-good thing for us to know we're doing the right thing, but also plenty of other good chefs and that go to Bray and would see it on the menu and go, oh, who's this? So, you know, it would work that way for us as well, which we're grateful for.
You're unlikely to find Xavier and his family at farmers markets anymore. Barongarook Pork now sells 95% of its product through the restaurant trade.
I also had this feeling that Bray would be really difficult to deal with because of their status in the restaurant world. And, you know, it's been the opposite. I mean, the boys came out and had a look and asked, you know, what cuts can you supply or what cuts do you struggle to move? And, you know, jowls was one of the ones that we weren't moving at the time, and they just said straight away, yep, we'll take them, we'll take the whole lot.
Back at the restaurant, another local supplier's meat is about to hit the tables. So Dan's about an hour before service. What are we doing here?
Yes, these are ducks from Jody and Greg at Great Ocean Ducks.
Local?
Local, down in Port Campbell, just out of Port Campbell. So essentially, they've been dry aged here for a couple of weeks. They've been rubbed with a bit of red wine and honey. And then, I just seal them over burnt down red gum, get a bit of colour on them, and then just let them smoke for about 25 minutes, half an hour. Perfume them with some plum prunings from last year. And then at service time, we sort of roast them through in the oven at a low temperature. Take the breast off, give them another smoke over a barbecue.
It's all pretty straightforward, Dan.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Sunday roast material.
Yeah.
It's nothing new for chefs to make a point about sourcing local ingredients and working with local agricultural producers. But having now been part of the Birregurra community for a decade, with a child at the local school and a small army of workers who live locally and eat at the pub in town, Dan Hunter thinks the impact of a destination restaurant in a regional area can and perhaps should be more diffuse.
Us buying their food and putting our money from the restaurant back into their pockets and then spending that money now in the community, which then might come back to us anyway, it just keeps the cyclical nature of small economies running, you know, and I think regional restaurants need to be aware of the importance of doing that.
You might think the idea of a high-end fine diner could jar with the quiet country sensibilities of a town like Birregurra. But if you bump into local of 50 years Janet Bryan down the main street, she'll tell you just the opposite.
It's brought a lot of interest to the town. We've had more bed and breakfasts and accommodation.
The president of the local historical society is quick to produce books about the history of the property and the grounds on which the restaurant sits. She sees Bray and its effect on the local community as just the latest chapter in Birregurra's story, and an exciting one at that.
People will say it's dear, and I say, oh, well, some people go to the footy, grand finals and theatre or concerts, and, you know, it's very good for our town.
Just down the road from here, a room full of diners are sitting down to a $320 a head lunch. Throw in some match wines, you're looking at over $500 a head. Now, we're a little bit of a drive out of the city, but this regional location, it isn't much of a barrier. In fact, it's kind of all part of the charm. And that money, well, it has a habit of flowing through shops, the local community, local agriculture, even the school. That makes it a pretty attractive model, and it's one that more and more towns and restaurants are looking to emulate. Welcome to southeast Tasmania. Things here move at a gentle pace. For the longest time, towns in the area like Denali have been considered little more than sleepy transit points on the drive from Hobart to Eaglehawk Neck and Port Arthur. This little picturesque pocket of Tasmania is home to this rolling green blanket of hills and paddocks, picturesque southeast Tassie coastline, but only 50 k's out of Hobart is a pretty sparsely populated place. There's just actually not that many places to spend money around here. That's starting to change, and there's one restaurant dug in the hill up here that's leading the charge. This is Van Bone, the brainchild of ambitious young couple Tim Hardy and Laura Stuken. The restaurant opened less than 2 years ago, but already diners have flocked from across Tasmania, interstate and further. The intimacy of the dining room, which was designed by Laura and most days seats just 17 diners, collides with the vast neighbouring pastures and dramatic Tasmanian coastline. That connection to place is reflected in the food, which is made from all Tasmanian ingredients, including many that come from nearby producers.
Basically, we do Tasmanian gold oysters coming from Blue Lagoon. We've literally just gone and picked them up. This is served with wakame and preserved lemon. Next to it, we're serving pork jowl, which we've just grilled over our wood grill, and we're serving that with coffee.
When Chef Tim Hardy says the oysters were picked up just down the road, it's not hyperbole. Phil Glover and his small team at Blue Lagoon Oysters operate just out of view from the restaurant in Boomer Bay, where they farm a variety of species. So Phil, we're about to head out onto beautiful Boomer Bay out here. What are we going to pick up?
We're going to grab some Tassie Golds for Van Bone just up the road, and we like to get them in the same day they collect them, just so they're as fresh as they can be.
Depending on who you ask, these waters deliver some of the best oysters in the country. They can be found on the menus of restaurants around Australia, but until recently, there weren't many places to find them locally. After 2 decades of running the business as a wholesaler, owner Sue Madden became encouraged by the growing food tourism scene in the area and set about opening a shopfront to sell direct to passers-by.
It's exciting to see what people can do and how others respond to that. Before we were just wholesaling, so we didn't really see what the end result was. Didn't see the restaurants who were using it, so it's just nice to now hear the stories behind it and how they're really pleased to be able to showcase what we're doing.
Sue draws a great sense of pride from seeing her oysters served in her local community on fine dining tables just up the road. She estimates she now sells more oysters to people who have been to the restaurant than to the restaurant itself.
Often we'll have people coming in after they've eaten at Van Bone or some of the other restaurants in the area to say, oh, we've just been there and we've had some of your oysters and they were fantastic, so we just need to come and get some more.
Back at Van Bone, Laura Stuken and Tim Hardy are thrilled that their restaurant has come to serve as something of a staging point for the region's high-quality produce.
There's something really real about going to a region and immersing yourself in it and having somebody put on a show of that region through food and drink and story, and it all intertwines with producers and what we're doing, and then, you know, it grows that region.
They might grow most of the fruit and vegetables that end up on the menu, but everything from the meat to the cheese, olive oil, wines, and even the plates at the restaurant are made and sourced locally. It's a model that has its roots in Europe, where Chef Tim Hardy worked for a time. But it's increasingly resonating here, giving confidence to new operators that a restaurant doesn't have to be in a city to thrive.
There's a lot more than Hobart, Launceston, and I think these type of areas are begging for, you know, higher end, exclusive Tasmanian experiences.
It's easy to be cynical about this sort of economy. The meals at restaurants like these attract a price point that is out of reach for most Australians. But for Sue Madden, seeing Dunalley and its surrounds transition to more of a food tourism region has been an important part of the area's evolution after devastating bushfires in 2013. The area faced challenging questions about its very future after the fires. Having rebuilt their oyster business, Sue thinks it's important that there are places for people to stop, interact with the community, and celebrate what is grown and produced in the region.
Good afternoon. Gee, isn't it cold? Yes. So you've come to get some oysters, I presume? Yeah, well, you've come to the right spot then, haven't you? It was a hard time right back in 2013, but people would like to hear what the story is of how, you know, we got back up on our feet again and we got going. I mean, what else do you do when you've got employees? You've got to keep going. So it is a celebration of what you can do when the chips are down.